Hi, I'm Dana, and today we're here to talk about Heartbreak High. More specifically, we're here to talk about Quinni, because I've followed Chloe Hayden, who plays the character, for about, I want to say 2 years now on Instagram. I've followed her for quite a little while. So seeing that there was an autistic advocate that I actively like and agree with, who was going to be playing an autistic character in a show, I was intrigued. I was very intrigued, and as always I was a little bit worried because they tend to do us a little bit dirty in the media, don't they? They're not, the autistic characters we've been given in the past often don't really hold up. So as much as I had very high hopes, I was also concerned, and having now watched it, I know that my concerns were completely unfounded. I'm so glad this exists. I have notes and I have points. This is going to be a coherent video. But I am also going to get emotional because this is... I've never cried at a show so much. And I'm autistic and most of my special interests are TV shows. So I cry at TV shows a lot. And this show, like even now talking about it, I get emotional because this damn character, this representation of how it is to be an autistic person is not one that I've ever seen on screen. It's not one that I've ever seen like truly represented. And it's incredible. I'm gonna chat and ramble more at the end of the video, but I want to actually get into it now. So we're gonna go on to my points, and I've got 5 big points that are like, these are the really great things. So number 1 is we see her missing things, and I don't know a better way of saying this, but like straight from the start she's like, what's a loose kebab and why is it under my name? And I don't want to spoil it, this isn't going to be filled with spoilers, but that leads into a whole nother plot where she has an altercation with another character, and she doesn't even really realise that it's an altercation. She thinks that she's sort of educating and explaining it to him and it's all going to be sorted. And it results in him getting like massively burned by her. He gets absolutely fucking owned by her. Everyone's like, oh, and she didn't even mean to do it. And alongside that, there was also another moment where she gets asked out on a date and she has to ask for like confirmation of like, is it a date or is it a hangout? And these are things that I feel like are often just overlooked and missed in autistic characters, is that the things that other people are automatically picking up on and immediately understanding, we're not. Like it's not this immediate obvious understanding for us. And this is the first time that I feel like I've seen that done really, really well. Because as much as I love Arbed and Community, so many of the things that he missed were like big things where it's like, I wouldn't have missed that. I'd get that. It's an obvious day-to-day life thing. Whereas the things that Quinni was struggling with and not picking up on were things that I definitely wouldn't have picked up on either. I also would have been like, what's a loose kebab? You know? I have done these in order of like where I felt like they showed up in the show, like when I wrote them down, so it's not favouritism or anything. And my next point was the info dumping. This was probably the thing that made me the most emotional, because her girlfriend and the people around her all sort of see and act as though the info dumping is a really good, cute, positive, nice thing about her. And I have never seen that. When have we ever seen that? You know, like we've definitely seen autistic characters that info dump in other things, and it's seen as the annoying thing that they do. This guy just like won't shut up about trains or birds or whatever else. And we've instead been given, like, I haven't even mentioned it, but a female autistic character who info dumps about her favourite fucking things and her special interests that are similar enough to mine that I feel represented there as well. And it's seen as a positive thing. Like, I've started a whole YouTube series of info dumps because I feel so insecure and judged when info dumping in real life. And I know that it's still not real life, it's still a TV show, but to see like a representation of a real life fictional setting in a TV show where the character is info dumping and haven't been picked up on, as a really cute thing, like a really nice part of her personality. Like, it's not even treated as an autistic trait, it's just part of Quinni. It's beautiful and it's how it should be done, and it really made me feel good inside. Which leads me into my next point, which is about the special interests. Holy shit! I've never ever seen a representation of special interests in the way that I experience my special interests. Because all too often, it's like extreme stuff. And you know, that's all very well and good. I'm not saying other people can't feel represented by that. But to see, again, a female autistic character who's got this fandom that she's obsessed with, to cosplay, has like a little wall of fan art that she's done for it, has a little jumper and like immerses herself in her special interest when she needs it. That is such a real, genuine thing for like most autistic people, and especially for me as an autistic person. And you know, I don't feel like I've ever seen my life represented on television. I have a video from not very long ago talking about how I literally like altered parts of myself and my life to try and fit into like the things that I saw on TV because I assumed that was the right way to be. Imagine if I'd seen this as a teenager and not had to do that, because it's showing me, like, this is literally the way that I live. This is literally the person I am. And it's being shown in a positive light on television. That's crazy. So... but yeah, it's this like a genuine, really fucking good representation of autistic joy and autistic just autistic special interest, and getting to indulge in that and getting to immerse yourself in it and having that as the fallback where other people might want support from a friend or their parents or something. You know, seeing that it's normal for us to turn to our special interests instead and to want that. Such, mwah, I love it. Now, for a lot of it, I just cried while watching the show when I felt very impacted by something. But every time they did, and there were multiple scenes that showed Quinni's sensory difficulties, you know, the sounds that were around her and the way that things are sort of like too bright and things like that. There's loads of videos trying to represent sensory difficulties. I don't think what they did necessarily like in a cinematography, I don't know how to say it, in the cinematography or whatever, like the actual like concept of here's the autistic person, we're going to make these certain sounds louder to drown out the person talking to them. Not a new concept, it's more or less realistic. But to see, like, obviously Chloe Hayden is autistic, so Quinni's reaction is coming from an autistic person, and it's that look on her face of like, I'm trying so hard to focus, all I want to do is listen to what you have to say right now, and I cannot hear it, I'm not picking it up, everything around me is too much. And it's, you know, like especially the one on the bus, it's hard to pinpoint for me, it's hard to pinpoint. This is why I don't make like analysis videos about films and TV shows. I'd love to, but I can't pinpoint a lot of things. But it's just, you know, it felt like something I could have made because it felt so spot on to me. That is how I experience sensory difficulties with things being too loud. You know, and to have her stim, to have her put her earphones on, it was just such an authentic representation. You know, and like I say, the concept isn't perhaps like the newest thing in the world. It's been done before. But it was, number one, I think, done very delicately. I feel like the people that have worked on it alongside Chloe and the other actors and everyone, I feel like it's just been done in a way that's being understood, and it's not to poke fun, and it's not to be like, look, they experienced this, isn't that weird? It's just, this is what she's experiencing in this part of the story. We're giving it a genuine representation, and it's brilliant. I really, really like it. And my final, like, organised point was the meltdown. I'm not trying to spoil it, but there's a scene where Quinni has a big meltdown. It's a meltdown, it's an autistic meltdown shown on screen and not drama. Like, obviously it is dramatized because it's a TV show, but it didn't feel dramatized, you know. As someone who's been in that exact situation, it didn't feel dramatized at all. And when I say exact, I mean exact, you know. And it was heart-wrenching. It was kind of horrible to watch, but everything that surrounded it was so perfect. Like, I don't have other words. It's perfect. This representation is, like, for me, the perfect representation of a autistic person. And I stress that because I understand that it's not going to be the experience of every autistic person. But for me, as a woman, as someone who's been a teenage girl, as someone who's, you know, gay, like, all of it just lines up to be the most perfect representation of autism for me. You know, I feel like I can show this to people. I'm not going to because it's kind of weird, but I feel like I could show this to people and be like, pay attention to Quinni, you'll understand me better, you know? But anyway, the meltdown comes from feeling left out, from feeling like a bit of a burden because of some things that a girlfriend said to her. And I haven't been in this situation with my girlfriend, but I've been in the exact situation, like nearly word for word, with other people in my life at times, and it's horrible. So Quinni then has a meltdown, which includes self-harm stims. She hits herself a little bit and hits against the floor and shit. It's, like I say, it's kind of horrible to watch because it's very, very real. But I also think that that's what people should be seeing. We should be seeing real and genuine and authentic representations of autism in the media if you're going to bother to include it. But I think the thing that made it feel all the more genuine, like, sorry to use the same like 6 descriptive words, but the thing that made it feel all the more genuine was that we also got to see her sort of calm down process, what she did to like calm herself down, play with her frog, indulge her special interest. We saw what comes after the meltdown, which I don't feel like normally happens. Normally it's just autistic person screams and cries and maybe hits themselves for a bit and then they're back to normal. Whereas Quinni goes non-verbal for a good chunk of time. And this is where we're going to start rambling a little bit. I've personally never had a chunk of time where I've been non-verbal because I've never been safe to be able to be non-verbal. You know, any time that has happened to me, I've then had people screaming at me to speak and getting really annoyed and frustrated and not being very nice to me. So it's, you know, the parts that don't feel like they relate to me still kind of do, because I'm sort of like, so that's how I'd be, you know, if I could just be like my actual authentic autistic self. There's definitely like, maybe not so much now, but as a teenager, there definitely would have been times that I would have been non-verbal for a good stretch of time. Like it felt physically painful to me to speak. But again, I felt like I had to, like I did have to. It was going to be a messy, horrible situation for me if I didn't. And I think that that's one of the big things that I like the most about this, is that we're getting the experience of an autistic teenager. And it doesn't say, but I'm guessing that Quinni's like sort of always knowing that she's autistic, the character. I also don't know about Chloe Hayden's life, and this isn't about her. Like, it is, but it's not, because it's about the character, you know? But I feel like Quinni has always known that she's autistic. I'm not sure if it was mentioned in the show. And that means that she is very authentically autistic. Like, I know it's a phrase that we throw around a lot, but, you know, she is supported by her friends and by her family as an autistic person, as well as, like, as a normal teenager. As an autistic person, her autistic traits are supported and shown as positives. She isn't made to feel bad for the way that she acts as an autistic person, or the autistic traits that she has, you know? She's loved and accepted as her full autistic self. And although being autistic may bring up issues for her and may make her life harder and may bring up extra struggles, which I do think are accurately shown, at the end of the day, it's still showing us like she's a good person, and she is seen first and foremost as a person before being seen as autistic. And I think that it's just a really... I'm going to be using the same words all over again. I've already said this part. I'm going to read you a thing that I wrote down, because I definitely wrote it down better than I'll be able to eloquently say it, but I also have the memory of a goldfish today, so I won't be able to remember it and say it back to camera, so I'm just going to read it out. But it's not just an autistic character, it's representation of life as an autistic person I've never seen before. I've spent years hyperfixating on TV shows and movies as a way of seeing the behind the scenes moments of people's lives, using them as a script of normal. And this is the first time in my life that I've ever seen my life as the behind the scenes on screen. As much as it is just a TV show, and as much as it's just one character, and as much as like there's definitely... You know, there's a million and one things that can be said for it, but at the end of the day, for me, as an autistic person, this show, and I mean, not so much the whole show, I didn't really care about anyone else, to be honest with you. That's a lie, it is a good show, you do end up caring about the other characters, but I was here for Quinni. But it just sort of felt like a warm hug, and someone saying like, you're good as you are, like, it's fine, you know? Like, all the little things that you thought were weird, and all the little things you've wondered if other people do, and all the little things that you've, you know, hated yourself for, they're all okay. It's just part of being autistic, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's what it is. It made me feel normal. And, you know, I wouldn't say I exactly feel abnormal a lot of the time, but I feel a little bit out of place, a little bit out of sync. Like, I don't quite know what's going on, you know? There's lots of things I would change about myself. And there were just so many scenes with Quinni where just for a minute I was like, oh, I'm normal. This is completely normal and average. Other people are like this. It's not just me. It's not just me. You know, like, even with the nice things, even with like drawing the fucking shit from the TV shows that you like to put up on your wall because it'll make you feel a little bit happier. It's not just me. There's other girls doing that. You know, like, everything about myself. Like, you know, I know that there's not anyone that's like going to be exactly like me because we are all different, but at the same time, like, everything that I do and everything that I've done has at some point been done or will be done by someone else, you know, in different orders and in different... This is getting way too deep. I hope you understand what I was getting at there. I'm really over talking, to be honest with you. I could say more, but I'd be using the same 6 descriptives. I'm not even sure of the 6. I'd just keep saying that it's genuine and it's authentic and it's perfect and it's great and I really liked it. So we can end it on that. If you wanted to like and subscribe, that's always nice. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:30 p.m. UK time. My links are down below. I've been posting on TikTok a bit more often. I feel very old over there. But yeah, that's me done. I'm going. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a couple of days.